Hey everybody, my name's Ed. Okay, so we're gonna have another comic book haul today. What did I want to talk about? Oh, I saw the Captain Marvel trailer. I thought it was all right. It didn't blow me away or anything like that. I know some people are like, "Oh wow, this is really great. It's really cool. It's gonna be the best thing ever." Other people are like, "Yeah, it was very meh." They expected more out of it, and then of course there are the kind of people who are like, "Oh, this is gonna be Marvel's big, first big flop because reasons." But like I said, I thought it was okay. I wasn't blown away. I wasn't overwhelmed. But keep in mind, it's a teaser for a movie that's not even going to come out for another like 6 months. So I'm sure that after January, probably we'll probably start getting more expansive trailers that tell you a little bit more about the plot and have a little bit more of that wow factor or whatever. So, what else happened this week? I guess there was that whole weird thing with uh, Batman's Wang in the Batman Damned comic or whatever. Um, I'm really not bothered by nudity in comic books or anything like that. I'm not bothered at all, but I always question it when they're putting things that may or may not be appropriate in these kind of, excuse me, mainstream comics. I mean, seeing it in a vertical comic or seeing it in an indie comic or even, something that's supposed to be a more mature thing is one thing, but what's the point in putting that in like a Batman comic book or a Superman comic book or anything like that? Even if it's a mature Superman, Batman, Spider-Man comic. I mean, really, what's the point? And I kind of get the feeling that the point was to say, "Ooh, look how edgy we are." And I guess the response to all that has been DC has decided that in the digital version or future versions, either digitally or the newer print versions, they're going to obscure that image some. So, whatever. I didn't even get the point in doing something like that in something called Batman to begin with, but whatever. Okay, so let's talk about some comics. Okay, so I got Pearl #2, Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Gatos. I thought the writing was okay. We're back into the Brian Michael Bendis slow burn deconstruction stuff. Taking that in consideration, it's not bad. We're getting a lot of flashbacks with Pearl and her mom and her family and her learning to be a tattoo artist. And this one only hints at the fact that she's some sort of hit person or whatever. I'm sure this is another one of those it'll read better in trade things. I really, really love the colors they did in this. Just the way it establishes mood and everything else as you jump back and forth from the past to the present. But I think I mentioned this in a previous video. I'm not 100% feeling all the photo reference stuff. I mean, everybody uses photo reference. Gatos has used photo reference forever, but I wish he would alter it more. Like I like it when he does it here, but when you see stuff like this, it just looks like he traced over some photos, and that kind of loses something for me when we're talking about like comic book art. You know what I mean? I think you should use, I think photo references should be a tool, not a crutch. You know what I mean? So, but okay, so we got that. Uh, Wildstorm #17. We're kind of chugging away with the whole kind of corporate espionage, pseudo science fiction-y elements. Here we've got Lynch has been going around the country finding old agents that used to work for him, and they've all kind of gone underground. And he's trying to warn everybody that that somebody's out to get them. And one interesting thing is, most of the people he's found have had kids, and they're hinting around that some of these kids may or may not have superpowers or whatever. And this is one of these things where it's not crucial to understanding the story that's in this comic, but if you remember the Wildstorm comics from the 90s or whatever, you can kind of see where the kids of these former agents are probably the parents of the Gen 13 kids, that comic, if you remember that. And here's the whole thing with uh, what's his what's his name, and Halo, and Voodoo, and the person who's born who's the engineer, and she's fooling around with this new technology, and she can kind of see these characters who are the Damonites or whatever, and they're trying to tell her, like, yeah, there's this conflict going on between us and the person you work for, but he hasn't told you the whole story. So yeah, just a lot of interesting kind of intrigue and whatnot. So, and I don't know if I should give this away. Well, I won't give this away, but there's some characters that everybody was wondering would they show up in this title, and they do sort of show up at the last page or whatever. So it'll be interesting how they get worked into the story or whatever. And a lot of this really seems to be the setup. It's a story among it, it's a story on its own, but it also seems to be set up for revamping the whole kind of Wildstorm universe from before. So okay, West Coast Avengers #2. This is Kelly Sue DeConnick, and the artist is Stefano Caselli. Basically, there's this giant-sized Tigra has shown up, and she's kind of threatening. They can't get through to her. She's kind of threatening everybody, and they try to calm her down, but it basically takes this guy here with the long hair who calls himself Brodock. And Brodock seems to be a reinvention of MODOK. But he's basically come there and he's telling everybody, well, I'm a good guy, I want to help people, and so on and so forth. So the team doesn't 100% trust him, but they're like, okay, we'll take him home, and so we can keep an eye on him, and then we'll look into his company and kind of see what he's really up to. So you have some kind of humorous stuff where Kate Bishop and Clint Barton go sneak into the guy's company and steal his files, while the rest of the team kind of hang out. With Bro, and low-key hijinks ensue. I wouldn't even say hijinks, but kind of amusing things happen. I actually find this comic book really good. I think the writing is solid. I like the dialogue. I like the humor. Good art. It's just a solid comic book. I mean, it's one of these things that people keep saying they want to see. You know, we want to get away from all the grim and gritty stuff. We want to get away from all the politics and blah blah blah. I think this is that comic book. You know what I mean? How come we can't have good writing? How come we can't have good art? How come, whatever, whatever, whatever? This is that comic book. But I think a lot of people kind of ignore it because, well, it's a comic book with all these newer characters, la di da. So, okay, that's fine, whatever. Black Hammer number 5, Age of Doom. Okay, Jeff Lemire and Dean Ormston. We're getting to pretty much the climax of the story. I don't want to give anything away, but basically we find out why the characters are stuck on the farm, what that farm really is. We find out how Black Hammer's daughter kind of was investigating the story and went from point A to get to point B and who did what and why. Um, I'm more than sure it's probably going to end in the next issue or two. And I'll just leave it there. I'll just leave it there. If you've been following it, this is like one of the best comic books out there right now. It's gripping, it's engaging, very well written. It touches on a lot of themes of, growing older, moving on, which are probably more the more deeper things. What do you leave for the world? How do you take the next phase in your life and stuff like that? At least that's what I got out of it. Of course, while at the same time being pretty much a tribute to these old kind of Silver Age and Bronze Age characters and archetypes and things like that. So just really, really solid storytelling, a solid comic book. It's like I said, I think it's one of the better comic books out there right now. So, okay. Life of Captain Marvel number 3 got the Joe Quesada cover, which I really like. I think that's a really cool image right there. Basically, this is a story where Carol Danvers goes back to her hometown to kind of reconnect with her family, and there's some really good stuff there about her brothers, her mother, and her father, and they're growing up and things like that. Here she's kind of reconnecting with some guy she she used to know when she used to live there. I thought that was kind of sweet and touching. At the same time, their dad had some big secret, and we think it's about him having an affair, but this issue kind of suggests that there's probably something bigger than that, something more than that. You know what I mean? And at the same time, there's this weird blue skin lady who's probably a Cree, has just landed, and she's out to get to somewhere, to get to somebody. And I'll just leave it right there. Just really interesting stuff. Great art by Carlos Pacheco. The story's written by Margaret Stahl, who did some really boring stuff on the last run of Captain Marvel. But this story here is really good, really good. I really like it. So there we go. Okay, so other things I bought but haven't read yet. Challengers, New Challengers number 5. I'm probably gonna give it one more issue. After that, I'll probably drop it. It's not a terrible comic, but it's not super great either. Um, I don't know. It's just kind of meh, for lack of a better word. So So, okay. Shadow Man number 7. I've been enjoying Shadow Man. Basically, Shadow Man is this voodoo influenced character, and the storyline we're going through now is every issue is he's reliving the life of a previous Shadow Man. So we go back to the Harlem Renaissance, we go back to the Civil War. This one we're going back to caveman times. So a lot of fun there. Aphrodite 5, number 3. Real kind of near future pseudo science fiction y, pseudo cyberpunk reinvention of this old character from the 90s. So, really nice art. I like the whole, ooh, excuse me. I like the whole kind of corporate intrigue they've got in there. I like, well, that's what I like. I like the whole kind of corporate intrigue the story is kind of built around. And it's, so far, it's pretty intriguing. Justice League number 8. Fun romp so far. And that's basically it. It's just a fun romp. I don't know where we're going at this phase, but we'll see. Okay. All right. And then Days of Hate number 8. And again, this is kind of a political thriller, slow burn. It's not a lot of action of anything like that. It's really more of a character piece, a character and mood piece more than anything else, I would say. So, okay. All right, so then that's it. I have another review video that's in the can right now. I'm not sure when I'll publish it. Probably in the next couple of days. And hopefully, if I have time, depending on what goes on, I can shoot some more videos over this weekend, more review type videos over this weekend. So I guess that's it. Thank you very much for watching. You guys have a great day.